Hello students, welcome to the world of chemistry. This is Dr. Vikram Panchal and I'm dealing with spectroscopy for chemistry. This is lecture number 28. In earlier lectures, we have discussed about the factors affecting absolute value of UV visible spectra. And there are two factors in fact. One is type of transitions and there are two types of transitions, allowed and forbidden, which I have already discussed. In case of allowed transition, the value of epsilon maxima will be very high, and in case of forbidden transition, the value of epsilon will be very low. Now, second fact, in this lecture I will explain you the second factor, and that is size of absorbing system, that is chromophore. You know chromophore means, chromophore is a group. Because of this, the absorption of UV visible radiations is possible. Okay, the magnitude of epsilon reflects both the size of chromophore and the probability that light of a given wavelength will be absorbed when it strikes the chromophore. There is one equation to find out epsilon value from transition probability and chromophore, and that is epsilon is equal to 0.87 times 10 to the power 20 times P times A, in which P stands for transition probability and the value of transition probability between 0 to 1, and A stands for chromophore area, which will be in centimeter square. So from this equation, it is possible to find out epsilon value. Epsilon may be very large for strongly absorbing chromophores, which can be greater than 10 raised to 4, and very small if absorption is weak. And it can be 10 to 1000. Okay. There are certain chromophoric groups and both have R bands as well as K band. Let us discuss that with different examples. So first is chromophore. Second is example. The third one is electronic excitation or transition. Then the value of lambda maxima. Then value of epsilon maxima. And solvent. So first of all, let us discuss about chromophore C double bond C. The best example is ethene. Transition occur in ethene would be pi to pi star transition, and you know that it is allowed transition. The value of lambda maxima for this would be 170, nearly 170, and the value of epsilon maxima is about 15,000. Here solvent is hexane. Second one is C triple bond C group, which is a chromophore. The best example is 1-hexane, in which pi to pi star transition, which will be in plane, so we call it allowed. And second is pi to pi star transition, which will be forbidden because it is out of plane. You know, there are two pi bonds perpendicular to each other. So one will be out of plane, another is in plane. When it is in plane, it is called allowed transition, and the value of lambda maxima is nearly 180. And for forbidden transition, it is about 220 or 223. Okay. And the value of epsilon maxima for allowed would be 10,000. While in case of forbidden, it is 150 only. And in both the cases, the solvent remains the same, hexane. Next transition would be carbonyl transition. Sorry, chromophoric group will be carbonyl. The best example is ethanol. There is double bond between carbon and oxygen, so pi to pi star transition, which will be allowed. And here the value of this allowed would be about 180. Well, in this case, forbidden transition is also possible because lone pair is available. So N2 pi star transition is also possible in case of ethanol. And the value of a lambda maxima is about 290. Now, epsilon will be very interesting. In case of pi to pi star transition, the value is nearly 10,000. While in case of N to pi star, it is only 15. And you know, solvent will be hexane. The next one, chromophoric group is N double bond O, that is nitro group. The example is nitromethane, in which you will find an pi to pi star transition, which is allowed, and N to pi star transition, which is forbidden. Both are possible. Now, for lambda maxima for pi to pi star would be 200, and for N to pi star it is 275, and epsilon value would be nearly 5,000 for a pi to pi star, and nearly 15 for pi N to pi star because it is forbidden. And here the solvent will be ethanol. So in this case we can use a different solvent, ethanol, which is polar solvent. The next functional group would be halogen, so the chromophoric group is CX. Okay, and there are two examples. One is methyl bromide, another is methyl iodide. And in both the cases, the transition would be N2 sigma star transition. And you know that N2 sigma star transitions are forbidden because the plane of symmetry rule is not allowed here, and therefore lambda maxima would be not so interesting, but epsilon maxima is very low in both the cases, 200 and 360 only, so we'll get very small peak, and here the solvent is hexane. So this way it is possible to explain all different types of chromophore and what could be the value of epsilon maxima with reference to this. Now we'll take one more example of different functional groups with value of epsilon. So we take the graph of epsilon versus wavelength in nanometer, okay, and it can be 50,000 over here and 1 lakh over here, okay. And if we discuss here the graph of different polyenes, then the common formula would be C double bond C n times okay. So n is very important. So if we see the graph of this one where n is equal to 3, the another graph which might be like this where n is equal to 4, and if you see on next one then it can be like this where n equal to 5, okay. So here we can see that as number of double bond increased, then epsilon maxima also increases. So epsilon maxima depends on number of double bonds. So epsilon maxima is directly proportional to number of pi bonds. As number of pi bonds increases, the value of epsilon maxima increases along with lambda maxima also. So lambda maxima is also directly proportional to number of pi bonds. Okay, so this way, this is the example of polyenes and different type of values of epsilon maxima. Now we'll take one more example which indicate the different types of values. Epsilon maxima, okay, of pi to pi star transition would be nearly, suppose we take homoannular, then the value will be 5000 to 8000 for homoannular Dyne system. What is homoannular? I will explain you later. And pi to pi star transition can be 8000 to 20,000 epsilon value, epsilon maxima value if it is heteroannular Dyne system. That means double bonds in different rings, then we can have this value. In case of alpha beta unsaturated ketone, pi to pi star transition for alpha beta unsaturated ketone, it can be 10,000 to 20,000, and for n to pi star for the same, it can be 10 to 100. So this way we can identify certain groups in this case. So that's it about this lecture. Thank you so much.